Hey guys, this is Eckhartsladder. Hello and welcome to another video. So, before we begin, I just want to remind you guys that the EcksToo Patreon did just launch. I want to give a thank you to everyone who has already pledged their support, and if you're looking to help the channel continue to improve, consider donating there. There's lots of really cool benefits that you can get. Just check out the link in the description. I think we already put a lot of effort into EcksToo. I mean, we get a video and a stream out most days, but with the more Patreon money available, the more we can afford to hire editors for big projects and to make cool merch and whatever else. So consider that. Also, a lot of Star Wars Squadrons content lately. I know some of you who are probably here for Empire at War or our other videos are a little thrown off, but to be honest, these videos are just doing really phenomenally for our channel, and I've got a lot more ideas. So we will keep to Squadrons uploads primarily for the next little bit, but eventually we'll start just mingling it in with our ordinary content. We will continue though our variety streams, everything from Empire at War to Halo to Sea of Thieves and whatever else. Anyway, I really love Star Wars fleet battles, and I mean, I've only really played one map so far and a bit of a practice map. I'd say I've got a few favorite features, just how tight the controls and the gameplay is, which is kind of true for all of Star Wars Squadrons. I like the way that capital ships interact with each other, how a frigate or a corvette providing firepower can be the difference between life or death, how you have to be careful attacking capital ships, and how eventually the two flagships will actually move within range of each other and duke it out. However, I've actually thought of a way that the game could get a little more variety while not requiring many significant upgrades. So let's talk about it. As I posted on Twitter, one of my favorite ships in the Star Wars universe is the Quasar Fire Class Carrier. And if you guys have watched some of our modded Empire War videos, this ship will be very familiar to you. The Quasar is essentially a mobile hangar on wings. It's got a basic Star Destroyer shape, sort of, but instead of being loaded with weapons and shield hardpoints and massive power generators, it's basically just a hangar with an awning and some engines strapped on. The Quasar was used by both the Rebel Alliance and the later New Republic and the Empire. It was famously featured in Star Wars Rebels and also prominently in the expanded universe, including the Truce at Bakura, where a Quasar named the Flurry was commanded by Luke Skywalker. I'm kind of getting away from the point though. What does this have to do with Star Wars Squadrons? Well, if you watched my capital ships video the other day, you would know that the Quasar, despite not appearing in any marketing material up to this point, is actually featured in the game. Now, I'll give you a second if you're very spoiler-averse about a minor detail, okay? If you got 1 second. But the opening shot of the game actually shows Quasars in formation with an Imperial Star Destroyer and some of the ships that we've already seen in fleet battles, including the Raider and the Architens. So with that background information out of the way, my suggestion is that the Quasar be added to fleet battles as a mobile spawn point for players. So depending on morale, each faction will already have up to 4 capital ships in battle. They will have their flagship, they will have their 2 frigates, and they might also have a corvette. Each one of these ships have unique behavior and roles. The frigates provide a lot of fire support. As the battle progresses, they move towards the center of the map, and of course they must be destroyed before taking on the capital ship. I don't know if that's actually technically true, but there's no way you're going to get at the capital ship while the frigates are still alive. The corvettes have a bit looser of an AI. They'll move across the battlefield, they'll attack capital ships and enemy starfighters, and they most prominently appear when you're on the offensive. The Quasar Carrier would be far different than this. Unlike the CR-90, it would still be relevant well on defense. It would move across the battlefield, it would be a very high priority target. However, there would be no necessity for destroying it. How I imagine the behavior is this: the Quasar mostly at the beginning of the battle stays near your flagship, so there's no real benefit from spawning from it, and maybe you can choose whether you want to spawn from the Star Destroyer or the MC-75 or the Quasar, which would actually work for both factions because it is canonically both a New Republic and Imperial ship, offering you the option of getting more quickly into battle. However, with the threat of coming out into a really hot zone, you might spawn and be in the middle of a really big battle. I'd also like the Quasar to serve as a fighter swap point like the flagship does. However, I would add some exceptions. I wouldn't want you to be able to fly into the Quasar in the middle of battle. I think if the Quasar was being attacked or if there were enemies in the vicinity, maybe the doors over the hangar close. But if you can defend it, then you can go in and swap out fighters. I think this would be useful because I played a lot of Interceptor, and it is kind of tough if you destroy the 2 frigates and get to the last stage to actually meaningfully contribute to damage, at least not to the degree that a Y-Wing would. However, if you want to go all the way back to your spawn, switch out fighters, fly your slow-ass Y-Wing across the battlefield, well, it's going to take some time. The Quasar offers an alternative. If you can keep it protected, you can just fly back to the Quasar and swap out your fighters. The Quasar, of course, would have some weaknesses. Like any other ship, it would be destroyable. The Quasar naturally has a large blind spot near the back, which could be exploited, and I would even make it less well armed than something like a CR-90. It really is a mobile spawn point that early on probably doesn't offer a lot of advantage, but can be a serious game changer when you get to the end of the battle. And one thing I really like about my suggestion is that the Quasar adds another level of strategy that's not actually baked into the mechanics of winning the capital ship battle. What I mean is that no matter what, you have to take down the 2 frigates. It's just an eventuality. It is fun deciding which lane to protect, but at the end you have to make some effort to protect at least one ship. With the Quasar, you ultimately have to make a really interesting tactical decision early on to try to protect the ship or not, which isn't reflected in score, but just the way the battle goes. It's like an organic point of conflict, I guess, and I also think it'd be interesting if the Quasar maybe spawned some of the AI fighters, because I noticed when I was playing that they largely stayed towards the middle of the map. And the Quasar 2 is also a pretty high-risk ship. I mean, you leave the Quasar, you are out in the open. It's not like a Star Destroyer where you at least dip out from underneath this behemoth. So there's a lot of risk and reward, both in how you protect the ship, whether you choose to spawn there, and on the enemy side, whether perhaps it's worth taking a run against a Quasar early on, even if it means the loss of one of your morale turns. Balancing could further be accomplished by perhaps having the Quasar go on a route across the battlefield. I wasn't sure whether I would want it to simply go down the middle lane, whether I would want it to constantly be moving, or what. And you could also change the amount of morale that it gave a destroying team. So maybe the Quasar sort of features like the Corvette, where if you destroy it as you're being attacked, it is a massive morale shift. Another thing I like about the potential inclusion of the Quasar is that it gives defending teams a point of repair. Right now, when you attack an enemy, you can repair from your frigates. However, if you're being attacked, you have to go all the way back to your Star Destroyer. And as I mentioned, that is a good idea, but the main problem is that you're out of battle for a while. Perhaps that's actually done for balance reasons. But I do think it would be nice for defending players to have some sort of repair point, and it could help deal with issues of steamrolling if the enemy is too strong. It would also be cool if the Quasars had an opportunity to run into each other. We know that all of the ships can eventually duke it out, but you don't see the large vessels doing it very often. It would almost be like a mid-game showdown if the 2 Quasars are fighting in the middle. Maybe you pull some starfighters off whatever duties they're doing to help your ship out so it can get the last shot, or so you can get the last shot. And it's just another element of randomness and organic tactics to a battle mode, which I think is already really phenomenal. So to summarize, I think the Quasar feasibly could be added to Star Wars Squadrons. The model already exists and it looks great. I think it would be an interesting addition to Fleet Battles mode, even if not present on every map. I think the ship makes sense in the navies of both the Empire and the New Republic. And it's also a vessel that's just significantly different than everything else already on the battlefield. It's actually surprisingly massive, it's underarmed compared to the other ships, and it's a high value target, which doesn't need to be destroyed to progress gameplay. So let me know what you think. Would you like the Quasar to be featured in Star Wars Fleet Battles? Would you like it on every map or just some? How do you feel about the idea of different fleet battles having different fleet compositions? Let me know all of that and more down in the comments section. Anyway guys, that's all I have for you today. Until next time, be safe, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.